My immediate reaction to seeing such a silly device as this Lightphone 3 is to first suggest that perhaps technology is evolving backwards. However, after some brief contemplation, I've come to the tentative conclusion that perhaps, in order for humanity to go forwards, we have to go backwards. Especially if you're the type of person who can't be without your phone for more than 5 minutes. Are you talking about yourself? No, I'm talking to them. Right. The average person checks their phone 80 times per day. I think you are talking to yourself. No, thank you. I am very much above average. Exactly. Wait, you have a problem. I can quit whenever I want. Wanting to reduce the amount of time staring at a screen is, of course, a very healthy desire. What's unhealthy, though, is that this thing costs $599, a price at which I don't think I can afford to get my dopamine back. The Lightphone 3 is designed, of course, to be used as little as possible, and a black and white AMOLED screen is the first step of that technological detoxification. Yeah, it can make calls, send text, navigate with GPS, download podcasts and music on its 128 gigs of internal storage space, and it also has a calendar. And this time around, it does have a color camera, which we'll dive into more in a second. Right out of the box, it feels like a solid little unit. The 3.9-inch matte display adds a premium vibe to it, even with everything being so minimalistic. The matte glass also makes it harder for us to get an accurate reading on the Mohs scale of hardness, since instead of my picks doing the scratching, the screen is acting like a level 6 ultrafine sandpaper to the tips, leaving trails of mineral dust below each number on the scale. Since we know it is glass though, and for old time's sake, we can just say it scratches at a level 6 with deeper grooves at a level 7. There is a small circle of clear glass above the 8-megapixel front-facing selfie camera. There's also some fine metal mesh inside of the top stereo speaker earpiece slit. This won't be falling out on its own. Making our way over to the black frame rails, we find our first attempt at justifying the exorbitant $600 price tag. Aluminum. There is a dedicated camera button over here for the rear 12-megapixel camera. It's kind of cool that it can kick the camera on, but then there's a delay of about 3 eternities between the time the button is pressed and the time the picture gets taken. It's also interesting that the circular metal volume buttons are spaced out with a menu button between them. Interesting strategy, something we've never seen before. The top of the Lightphone 3 has more aluminum with a 5G antenna line. The 5G is for the GPS navigation, I guess, and for sending text messages lickety-split. There's also a fingerprint scanner on the top power button. The right side has some more metal with a circular wheel that adjusts the screen brightness. And if you press it, the rear flash also activates as a flashlight. The bottom of the phone has a USB-C 2.0 for transferring music, podcasts, pictures, and of course charging. The gigantic grill below the screen is for the lower stereo loudspeaker. Kinda gives me old school HTC vibes. I mean, like, I get the point of the phone, right? The owners of this company want us to go out and open our front door and squint our eyes up at that bright ball in the sky, the sun, and feel those little plants beneath our feet, the grass. But I'm not entirely on board with that mission just yet. There are, however, some screws on this back panel which apparently lead to a user-replaceable battery, which is a mission I'm totally on board with. With the 4 T4 screws gone and the plastic battery door removed, I can see the battery. But there are a few extra steps, like another screw over a metal bracket holding in the Lego-style connector, and interestingly enough, 2 magic pull tabs. Thumbs up for that. We'll have to come back to these though, since I don't want to do anything just yet that would compromise the rest of the durability test, so I'll put the sun back where it belongs. For some reason, the top half of the phone is not scratching though, and I'm not sure why. The 12-megapixel camera, however, does have a circular scratch-resistant camera lens. I'll snag some pictures so we can assess the camera quality. And I mean, it's not totally terrible. Safe enough to preserve family memories and document your daily life. You can't share the pictures to social media though, which is kind of the whole point of the phone. When it comes to video, the Lightphone 3 caps out at 1080p and has some real 2007 flip phone quality vibes to it. This is what the video quality looks like with the Lightphone 3, as well as the audio from the video. Shaking my my hand a little bit. We'll find out if it has optical image stabilization here in a minute. With the screen being matte on the surface and AMOLED under the glass, it kind of mutes the colors from the camera while you're taking pictures or videos, but then they appear more normal when offloading onto a computer and viewed on a normal non-matte display. If we light the Lightphone on fire, it lasts for about 25 seconds before the minorest of blemishes appears, but then still continues to work just fine. Now, I would be amiss here if I didn't mention that one of the methods LifePhone is using to help decrease our attachment to technology is eliminating color. But both Androids and iPhones have that same grayscale capability already built into the operating systems. But nobody ever mentions it since most people aren't strong enough to turn it on. In theory, social media becomes less enticing to our feeble human brains when colors and filters are removed. Now, it was about here that I noticed that at some point between my scratch test and now, the LifePhone 3 grew a new crack across the display. Most likely due to my level 7 Mohs pick, definitely my bad on that one. But at least now we have a second confirmation of it being real glass. When it comes time for the bend test, thanks to this LifePhone 3 being basically a small hunk of metal, it holds up much better than the plastic e-ink LifePhone 2 from 4 years ago. However, also thanks to that chip from my level 7 Mohs pick, the rest of the screen does shatter below that line. Aside from that though, the phone is still super solid and still fully functional. If I hadn't chipped the glass first, it probably would have been just fine. I do hear those magic pull tabs calling my name though. With the lower plastic back panel gone again and the metal bracket over the battery connector removed, I can get the battery unplugged. I'll slide away the warranty void sticker, these stickers aren't valid in the USA by the way, and we can get to pulling those little pull tabs. They are tiny, yet mighty. There are probably easier ways to install non-permanent batteries, but pull tabs are the cheapest. And would you look at that, they even left a hidden message for us. Much love, Light. Something nobody would ever see unless they change out their 1800 mAh battery or they're subscribed here to my channel. Interesting. Getting a little too mushy in here for my taste though, so let's continue onward. There is a water damage indicator sticker inside the battery compartment. This turns from white to red when it gets wet to tattle on you. The LifePhone is IP54 water resistant, meaning it can handle small splashes or a few raindrops, but nothing else. Now, it's about here that I made a mistake, and see if you can catch what it is. Yeah, for some reason it didn't cross my mind that the upper portion could have been glass. How long have you been doing this? Look bud, glass is glass. With the back glass now gone, we can see that the 12 megapixel camera does appear to have OIS. So I imagine that the camera quality and stabilization will improve over time with software updates. I'll lift up the NFC coil, and then, interestingly enough, after the single SIM card tray gets removed, I can pry out the plastic midframe from the aluminum housing. The only thing really designed to be semi-easy to replace in here is the battery and the screen, which are the most common repairs, so that is a good thing. The single front-facing 8 megapixel camera can unclip like a little Lego. It's a very tiny guy, with no OIS. The giant lower loudspeaker has a few more of those T4 screws, and then it can lift away. There's a small vent at the right side, but there are no balls inside. The chamber is large enough though that it probably doesn't need them. The motherboard has 4 T4 screws of its own, and 3 more Phillips head screws over by the rear camera unit. Then the motherboard can lift out and away from the phone, leaving behind the upper stereo speaker and quite a bit of thermal paste. Cause you know that alarm clock is putting those CPU cores to work. The USB-C port is modular and replaceable, but unfortunately the screen's ribbon cable is only able to be connected and disconnected from the front side of the motherboard. There's no way to reattach the screen to the motherboard now that the main board has been removed, which again is my bad. Now I'll have to get a replacement screen anyway and install it from the front, because there's no way my current screen will survive the removal process. Just for the record, I could do this way better next time, which is probably the last thing you want to hear your surgeon saying, but it's true. We gotta learn somewhere, right? To be fair, the phone is still working, and I can feel the vibrator kicking on. It's just the screen that is still unplugged, leaving the pixels dark. If you are going to go spend $600 on this thing, you might as well at least shell out a few more bucks for my teardown skin, which dBrend and I have now available for pretty much every mainstream smartphone, laptop, and tablet. I also got a monochrome X-ray version if that's more your vibe. Do it for the dopamine. Thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.